In a world where legends rise and fall with every punch, where the roar of the crowd fades, but the stories live on. This is where those stories are told. This is Talkin' Boxing with Billy C. From the blood, the sweat, and the glory, to the controversies, comebacks, and knockouts, we go behind the ring, no fluff, no hype, and definitely no BS. Just the truth behind the fight game. And we've been doing it for over 2 decades. A podcast pioneer, now a Hall of Famer.
Great. What's that ego gonna be like?
And next, the comeback kid.
Wait, isn't he like 90 or something?
Shut up, he'll hear you. The reigning, defending, undisputed, heavyweight champion of boxing broadcasting. It's Talkin' Boxing with Billy C. And it's on now.
And we're coming to you live from the Billy C Studios in Lake George, New York. I'm Bill Calogero. It's time for the Billy C Show. Good morning, good day, good evening. Whenever you're watching, whenever you're listening, I hope you're doing okay today. Today's show is being brought to us in part by my book, Tom Molyneux, From Bondage to Baddest Man on the Planet. And you can get yourself a copy right now while you're watching or listening to this very show. Just go to Amazon.com or check out BillyCBoxing.com. I think there's a link to a special. Today's show is also being brought to us in part by Classic Boats. Hey, looking to buy a classic boat, new, used, custom built, luxury? There's only one place to go. Check it out, classicboats.co, worldwide, classicboats.co. We got a busy show for you scheduled for today. I'll be breaking down and predicting 5 fights that are scheduled for this upcoming weekend, including Tyson Fury's return against Arslanbek Makhmudov. And I'm going to give you my thoughts on whether I think he's going to look like a shot fighter, just the way Wilder and Chisora did this past weekend. But we'll get to that in a second. I'll be updating you on some hot news concerning Canelo Alvarez, Ryan Garcia, a big fight. I thought was a big fight that's been canceled, and a bunch of other news. We'll also update you on the saga known as Manny Pacquiao versus Floyd Mayweather, the rematch, and much more. This week, we got a great guest for you, hot, undefeated junior welterweight prospect, Jacob Lefty Marrero will be joining us. He's going to be making his first title shot in April 18th. But first, we got some fight results to talk to you about. All right, let's talk about the fight right now. Deontay Wilder against Derek Chisora. Now, first and foremost, I thought that the fight was a good matchup. I did, you know. It was one of these fights where you wanted to see if there was anything left in both of these fighters. At the end of the day, Deontay Wilder came out ahead. One judge had it 115-112 for Chisora, and the other two had it for Wilder, 115-111 and 115-113, giving Deontay Wilder the split decision win. Derek Chisora, he announced that he's done, he's finished, and Deontay Wilder thinks that, you know, he's the best heavyweight in the division. My thoughts are simple. They both looked shot. It was sad to watch Derek Chisora, who was never known to be fleet of foot, but it was sad to watch Derek Chisora just plod around. You know, I mean, he plodded around. He seemingly, you know, are we saying, you know, as dumb as a fox? You know, I mean, he plodded around like he just didn't know what he needed to do, didn't know what he wanted to do, just went through the motions. I mean, that's what it looked like to me. And I got to be honest. Look, Deontay Wilder, if you've ever watched this show for a long period of time, I've never been a big fan of Deontay Wilder. I've always said that he's a one-trick phony. Pony. You know, he was brought up, coddled, The man has a devastating right hand. Is it the most powerful right hand in the history of boxing? No, it's not, but it is pretty powerful, and it's impressive. But that's it, boys and girls. That's it. He has no footwork. He has no defense. He's never really used a jab, even though he potentially has one. He has no movement. He looks like a stick figure out there. He has no brains. He is not a smart guy. Plus, he has no ring savvy, and it was sad to watch him this past week. As much as I was never a fan, to me it was sad to watch him fight because he was fumbling and stumbling and bumbling, trying to land the one punch. I mean, even in swings and misses or shots that weren't totally set the way he wanted, he was just chasing with that power hand. And then you're watching Derek Chisora barely trying to get out of the way. It was hard to watch. It was sad to watch, and to tell you the truth, Deontay Wilder comes out on top. So you say to yourself, okay, what's next for Deontay Wilder? Well, a lot of talk was that Deontay Wilder would fight, Anthony Joshua. I mean, that's a fight that I could see them trying to sell. He also was saying that he wanted to fight the winner of Usyk and Wardley, and people are saying he deserves a title shot. It's crazy. He's already calling out AJ, calling him scared. There's other people. Carl Froch said that he thinks AJ doesn't want to fight him. He thinks that AJ is scared of him. I don't know who would be scared. If you're scared of Wilder, you shouldn't be fighting. And if you're a professional fighter, you shouldn't be fighting. You shouldn't be fighting. We got some comments in the chat room. My man Aaron says Wilder fought like a bum. Yeah, he did. And love it. Well, she's breaking bread while she's watching the show. Jessam's saying Wilder and Chisora look like a bar brawl. Yeah, it did. It did. I like Jessamine is saying Wilder against Guido Vanello or Anello or whatever. I'm going to talk about him later. Yeah, I would like that. But listen, look, if I'm Wilder and I'm looking for money, a money fight for him would be AJ if he could get that fight. But here's the thing. There's all kinds of stuff going on in the heavyweight division. Quietly it happened. When Usyk gave up his title, that's what made the WBO title. That's what made Fabio Wardley from interim to real super duper main WBO. So he's in a fight right now. He's already booked to fight in his next fight. And then there's a eliminator going on, which I happen to like, for the IBF's version of the title that Usyk holds, and that's Frank Sanchez going up against Richard Torres. And then you got to think about the WBA belt. Now, remember, even though Usyk has the WBA belt, there's another guy that happens to hold the WBA regular belt, and that's Marrero Garcia. And their team announced that they would give Deontay Wilder an immediate shot at that belt. You know what? I have a problem with Deontay Wilder getting an immediate shot at a world title for beating Derek Chisora. Now, the thing is the little curve is that Derek Chisora happened to have been ranked at number 2, in the IBF. So theoretically, a win over him catapults Deontay Wilder. So I mean, the bogusness of the way the sanctioning bodies rate their fighters is clearly opening up a path and clearing a way for Deontay Wilder to get another world title shot. My hangup is this. I mean, no knock on him getting a shot, making some money, whatever, especially a winnable fight. against any of these guys, especially guys more his own side like Gaziev. The thing is he's got the power right hand, but the truth of the matter is he was fighting Derek Chisora, more or less a stationary target, a proverbial punching bag at this stage of his career. Yeah, he's tough. Yeah, he took shots, but over his career. But anybody that can box. Now, you know what pisses me off the most is that the names like number one, Ajit KBL. I don't understand why. Well, I do understand. Every single heavyweight out there with a trinket around their waist, they don't want to fight this cat because he's good. He doesn't look the part. He quietly beats the shit out of people. I mean, he's a dangerous fighter, so they're avoiding him. They're clearly avoiding him. How about Filip Hrgovic? Hrgovic is another one. I know he's scheduled for some fight not too far away, but these are all guys to me that deserve a shot at a title before Deontay Wilder at this stage. I mean, you could even sprinkle in guys like Martin Bacoli, Joseph Parker, who, he was at the top of his game. Yeah, he lost, but, I mean, he deserves it more than Wilder. The Lawrence Oakley, who's busted onto the scene. He was a cruiserweight champ. And even young fighters like Effie Ajagba, who's have, stumbled a bit, but they're climbing back up the ladder. I think they deserve a shot before Wilder does, or at least have him fight Anthony Joshua or the winner of Fury and Makhmudov. I don't know. I mean, would I want to? Could I stand a Tyson Fury, Deontay Wilder numero cuatro? I mean, no, I couldn't. In another fight, Denzel Bentley. Hey, by the way, I was 2 for 2. I've been on a hot streak with my picks. Denzel Bentley took care of Andre Saavedra. And I was saying it, I was kind of saying it right, and I thought I was saying it wrong, but it's Saavedra. And stopped him at 1 minute and 38 seconds of the seventh round to win the WBO interim middleweight title, which is pretty cool because I love the middleweights, and he deserved to win the fight. And Saavedra was he's a tough guy. It's not like his career is over. Everybody picked him. He was, I didn't even realize, how accomplished he was as an amateur. I'll be honest. I had never heard of him, and I just looked at his record and thought that he hadn't fought the tougher opposition. If I had known of his amateur background, which I should have looked into, but I didn't, I probably would have leaned towards him like everyone else did. But instead, I judged by the pro record and picked Denzel. And Denzel Bentley came out on top, and it looked like he kind of was having his way with him. So happy about that. In another fight, Tim Tszyu got back to his winning ways, took care of Dennis Nurja in their fight. It was a unanimous decision. All three judges scored at 100-88. He improves to 27 wins, 3 losses, 18 coming by knockout. And Nurja loses for the first time in his career. He's now 20-1 with 9 knockouts. And the big talk now is Tim Tszyu wants to fight Errol Spence. And, Diaz said today, I don't know if it was today or yesterday, he said, yeah, Errol Spence Jr., he's not taking a tune-up fight because he's a shot fighter. He doesn't want to take the risk. So he wants to give a shot to, wants to fight Tim Tszyu now. And he's saying that he doesn't feel that Tim Tszyu has much of a chance. Another comment here, Atto Y2E is saying Fury is not going to look good. Yeah, I'm going to get to that in a little bit here. I'll be talking about that really when I break down the fights, but I have a feeling he's not going to look too good. I saw somewhere, whether it was BS or not, that he was real nervous about potentially looking as bad as Wilder and Chisora did. I mean, the only person that's saying how good Wilder looked is Wilder. I mean, I haven't talked to anybody else that thought that he looked even closely good. He looked pathetic. Moving on from that, Zuffa, Zuffa Boxing, their fifth one, Zuffa 5, fought on Easter Eve, Sunday, from Las Vegas. It was an exciting main event when Andre Cortes won his fight against Ederson Garcia. And, I think Garcia was the guy that everybody thought was going to outbox Cortez, but he didn't. And he improved to 25-0. And the scores 97-92, 96-93, 95-94. And the rest of the card was entertaining, like all of Zuffa fights have been, at least in my opinion. There was a couple. Magseo looked great in his fight when he moved up to lightweight, when he took care of McCrory. It was a good card. Here's the thing. If you're listening, my man Dana, you know I love what you're doing with Zuffa. I think it's going to be a home run. But these Sunday cards, man, especially on Easter, you got to work with Paramount. You got to work with some other broadcast people. I look, switch to Friday. I get it that you don't want to make it on Saturday. You don't want to compete with UFC, but Sundays are tough, man. You're gonna lose, especially when there's other sports on. If you don't want to try to target, what I'm going to use, the casual boxing fan, which I think are up for grabs if you put on these entertaining fights, Dana. Pick a day that the more of them are going to watch. And Sunday isn't the day, bro. Sunday isn't the day. But anyway, hey, by the way, I do want to comment. Last time I made a comment about the broadcast, my knock was that the announcers, Joe Tessitore, Andre Ward, and Max Kellerman, wouldn't shut up. There wasn't a second of the broadcast where they weren't talking, and I made a big deal about it. And I don't know if it's a coincidence or what, but they did a fantastic job on this last one. They weren't talking every second. They were letting you watch the fight, and I really enjoyed it. And I enjoyed their commentary when they did talk. So maybe there was a valuable lesson learned here, boys and girls. Sometimes you can say too much, and it doesn't make good television watching. I mean, most people watching boxing, they kind of know what's going on. They need a little push every now and then if, they lose sight of it if they're having a scotch like me. But my man Ato here is saying, I don't think Weiler looked that bad. He was never technically sound anyways. He was almost throwing. Yeah, but the thing about that is that he looked pathetic trying to land the bomb. I don't know. I think he looked worse than he usually did. We got 56.99 saying Zuffa is trash, man. And Love It saying exactly. I don't think it's trash. I think you're going to find that the better boxers are going to rise to the top, and you're going to see a lot of people moving over to Zuffa because they're sick of the shenanigans going on with the sanctioning bodies. So, and speaking of which, Ryan Garcia he's announced, I haven't seen it listed anywhere, but he's announced that he's going to be, his next fight is going to go against Teofimo Lopez, and they're shooting for a July 25th date. That's what he has said. He's come out and said it, and nobody's really denying it, but I'll tell you one thing that I did notice is that on BoxRec, now BoxRec, listen, boys and girls, BoxRec is not the official records keeping of professional boxing. It's an outfit called Fight Facts. Okay, that's the official record keeping that keeps track of, obviously records and suspensions. Now BoxRec prints what they can get information on, but according to BoxRec, and I did not look up the Fight Facts, according to BoxRec, Ryan Garcia is suspended by the Nevada State Athletic Commission through August 21st. Now, the way the suspensions usually work, especially in tough sanctioning body, tough commissions like Nevada, after they lift the suspension, so a suspension is on for and you're supposed to not be in a boxing gym until the suspension is lifted. So that means that usually a fight isn't scheduled for less than 30 days after a suspension is lifted. So it's going to be interesting to see how that unfolds. But to tell you the truth, I happen to like the fight. I think that it would be a pretty good fight, and I'm impressed with Ryan Garcia because Ryan Garcia seems to definitely live up to his comments about him wanting to fight the best and everything. Um, you know, so we got a comment 56 where he's talking about. Well, coach said Mark Breland is an early coach. Wilder still hasn't figured out the jab. Not only Breland, remember Breland walked away, but Malik Scott. Malik Scott was saying how great his jab was, because Malik Scott trained him. I was surprised to see that Malik Scott wasn't in training. I didn't. That flew under my radar. Our 5699 says he's still referring to Zuffa, not after the IBF situation with Jay Apate. Here's the thing, man. You're missing the point about that, in my opinion. I think that the IBF made the mistake because they're going to turn around and Jay Apate is going to make more money fighting for the Zuffa belt. You watch. He's going to end up getting a top cruiserweight to come and challenge him for the Zuffa belt. And once that happens, once fighters start going over there, and they will for the money, okay, and they start fighting for the Zuffa belts, the sanctioning bodies are going to start to lose their grip. That's what's going to happen, 56.99. I'm telling you. But anyway, that's my prediction. Some big news, at least in my opinion, it's big news. A fight was announced that it was canceled. The huge fight that I was looking forward to, Callum Smith going up against David Morrell in the light heavyweight division. Callum Smith is injured and has pulled out of the fight. It was scheduled for the April 18th. Everybody, including everybody I know, was looking forward to this fight. Not so much for Callum Smith, who's the more well-known guy, but for David Morrell, because he was the Cuban fighter that fought David Benavidez in a close fight, and it was a good fight. And I thought that David Morrell's value went up after that. And I, for one, have been dying to see him. He won a fight after that. And this was a big fight for him and for Callum Smith. And Callum Smith gets injured, and the fight was canceled. That fight was canceled. They're saying that they're trying to reschedule it. But a young light heavyweight will be headlining it. Ben Whitaker. You guys, if anybody that's been watching the show for a long time knows that I'm a big fan of Ben Whitaker. He's going to be taking on an experienced fighter in Brian Suarez, who's got a record of 21 wins and 4 losses, 20 of the wins coming by knockout. So it's going to be interesting to see how the surgeon, Whitaker, who's only 10-0, would a draw with 7 knockouts. Very talented guy. But speaking about talented guys, we got a really good guest for you today. This guy is out of Connecticut, and he's going to be fighting for his first title on April 18th in Connecticut, in Hartford. Joining us right now is Jacob Lefty Marrero. What's up, brother?
Hey, what's up, Billy? How you doing? Thank you for having me.
Man. I appreciate you coming by. I know you're training and you're busy. So I got some questions for you. First of all, here's a question you probably have been asked a million times, all right? So you probably already know the answer. But what got you into boxing? What made you get into boxing?
Honestly, I told everybody, I just really woke up one morning and I was like, yo, I want to join the boxing gym. I was always into fighting. I was always athletic, and I really woke up one morning, I looked up a gym, I couldn't find nothing, and then my uncle one day came to the house a few years later, and he was like, "Hey, there's a gym, on the other side of town. Let me bring you to it." And he brought me, and my coach said I needed my mom or my dad to come, but my mom was always working. So I just kept coming back, always walking. And he kept telling me like, "Hey kid, like you need to bring your mom, you need to bring your dad." And I was like, "Oh, my parents are always working." And then I just came, I kept coming. He was like, "Hey, just jump rope." And I jumped rope. He put some gloves on me, and then he started showing me. And then he started seeing I was picking up quick, and then the rest was history after that.
You know, I, I don't know if people have told you that, but told you this, but that story, that experience is like a throwback, man. That's like, I've read those stories about old time fighters from the 20s and 30s that tell the same story. That's great. That makes me feel good because I always question the history. We're losing some of the history. I got a question for you. I know your nickname's Lefty. I know you're a southpaw, but on some of the documentation for you, it says you're an orthodox. Are you a switch hitter?
No, I don't even know why they put me as orthodox, but I always been a left-handed fighter since I first started boxing. I try to practice orthodox, but I feel more comfortable southpaw.
Really, when I took a look at your last three fights, were all against pretty tough opposition. Your next fight, April 18th, is for your first title. How do you think those last three fights are going to help you in this one?
It's gonna help me tremendously. I feel like I learn from every fight. I always go back to my films. I always try to study what I did wrong. I always try to outdo my performances. So coming into this fight, I did a lot of film study on myself and also on my opponent. Try to work on the things that I was lacking in my previous fights, and we've been training. We've been using those things, and I'm looking to put on a great performance, come 100% sharp, and every fight is gonna look different, and I'm ready to put on a great show and show the tools in my toolbox.
We got some people in the chat room, and I got a question for you here. My man, Coach. Actually, we have this new feature. We could do this. My man, Coach, asked Jacob. It's on the screen. It says, "Ask Jacob about his special pre-fight ritual. Small heart on his hand wrap. Ask Jacob to describe the camp as a sparring partner for Tiafimo." This
So
guy, hey, listen, I should have warned you about him. He always comes up with stuff, and half the guests are like, who is that guy? I know that guy from somewhere. So,
my pre-fight ritual, I really isolate myself. I try to get my mind right. I eat a lot of food. I try to fuel up, but I really just try to get into that zone, that mental state. I try to remember what type of fighter I am, what's my attributes, what's my strength, what's my weaknesses, and I go back to everything that I've done in training, and I just try to remind myself that you know I'm the best fighter, and when I'm in top shape, I feel like a lot of dudes can't beat me. So I really just try to do a lot of mental preparations, and I just surround myself with good energy. Everybody that be around me during fight day is everybody that just want to see me win, do good, and speak nothing but positive energy into the air. So
I tell you just real quick that your whole team, that whole CES team is. I love the camaraderie. You guys all you're all buying into the system, and that means successful to me. That means it's going to end up being successful. Your opponent, Mr. Sanchez, is a tough guy. He's known for being tough. He never quits. He comes at you. He presses forward. He throws a lot of punches, and he's got momentum mentally because he's coming off the biggest win of his career. How do you plan on handling him?
just sticking to my game plan, remembering what type of fighter I am. We've been training since January. I thought I was gonna be fine in February, but it didn't fall through. So I'm in great shape. I'm in top shape. I've done a lot of rounds of sparring, a lot of road work, and like I said, I did a lot of film study, and I'm pretty sure he did a lot of film study on me. So whatever he thinks that he saw in my previous fight is not gonna be what I'm bringing to this fight. I'm becoming a lot sharper, a lot in better shape, and I'm expecting a great fight. I know he's a tough opponent. I don't underestimate nobody, and at the end of the day, we do this to feed our families, and one man gotta win and one man gotta lose, and I'm definitely coming to win.
You're 11-0, 8 knockouts. It seems, or to me, it seems like you're breezing through your opposition, even though when you dissect your opposition, you've been fighting generally with more experienced guys in every fight since you've been a pro. Um, do you feel personally that you need to step up and challenge yourself more, or do you feel that each fight has already been a challenge for you and you're starting to see yourself get better and better after each fight?
Yeah, I see myself every fight is a challenge. You never know, what could happen in the ring because one punch could change a fight. So like I said, I always take them lessons from each fight and I apply it to my next fight. And this like I said, this fight right here, you're gonna see a whole different lefty, a whole different set of attributes that I didn't use in my previous fights. And I feel like I said, when I'm in top shape and I'm 100% focused, I feel like my skill set could, be in there with anybody. And come April 18th, I'm gonna just show that I'm on another level than a lot of people, and I feel ready, and I just appreciate everybody, for this the continuous support.
One thing I've always noticed with fighters, whether they're young fighters, real experience, especially you got to lean towards the younger fighters because especially somebody like you who wants to learn more and more, right? So you work on these new things in the gym, and you start becoming proficient with it, and then you implement it in a fight. And when the fight gets tough, isn't it pretty much automatic where you revert back to the most common things that you do, whether they're good or bad?
Yeah, I agree, and it's crazy that you say that because in one of my fights, I believe it was my eighth or ninth fight, I was fighting a guy more experienced than me, Wilfredo Flores, and I remember my coach used to always tell me, anything happens in the ring, don't let it get to you, don't stay focused, don't let the crowd get to you, don't let the moment get to you, and I remember I was coming up and from a shot, and I was throwing a punch, and he caught me with a good left hand, and he stunned me, and he rocked me. And I remember at that exact moment, I was like, "Oh, like this never happened to me before." And I just remember when my coach was saying to me, "Stay calm, don't let the that moment get to you." So I took my time, I moved around the ring, I got my mind right, and then within like the next 30 seconds, I snapped right back out of it, continued to box the round good, and I watched the fight over and just listening to the commentator, they were like, "Wow, like." Still calm in that moment. They still thought I won the round, even though I got rocked. They still thought I won the round. But I finished strong, even though that pumped me for shot. So I just try to remain patient at all times, even if I got the guy hurt or the guy hurt me. Patience is the thing, the really thing that I learned and continues to learn. So I take that.
Yeah, because like sometimes it just seems that we have fighters that you're working on something, and it's like you're overthinking because you're trying to apply what the newest thing, and it takes sometimes a shot back to get you into reality, and then well you just go let me just be automatic so I can handle what's in front of me. So I mean, so big fight. You're fighting for your first title. You're fighting in front of your hometown. Is there any added pressure on you?
Well, my hometown is Bridgeport, Connecticut. I'll be playing Hartford, Connecticut. It's like an hour away, but it's still in Connecticut.
Right. It's not like Connecticut is Texas.
Yeah,
Come on, you know. You
I
know.
feel I'm so excited because I always used to say like I would like to fight in my hometown, even if it's for a belt, or defending a belt, or just a regular fight. A lot of people always say, my dreams is to play in North Macon or the Barclays Center, Madison Square Garden. Those are great opportunities. I would love to fight those one day. But my always dream was to fight in my hometown, which was Connecticut. So me fighting for my first belt, just an hour away in Connecticut, it's a big deal for me. And a lot. There's a couple of old fighters that won a belt in my town, but nobody has won this specific belt that I'm going for. So I'm extra excited. My whole gym is excited. My whole city excited to get so much love, so much support, and it just continues building the fire in me. I'm just ready to go out there. I'm ready for next week and ready to just great performance. Like, I'm super excited.
Well, I got faith in you. I think you're going to come out on top, but get business. You got to business is business. April 18th, you'll be and in Hartford, and people can get tickets. How?
Yeah, yes. Tickets still available. Contact me, Jacob Marrero, Facebook, Instagram. Coach Carlos Facebook, Instagram.
Yeah, your audio is start. I'm not hearing your. You know,
Can you hear me now?
Oh yeah, now we hear you. You know, so I missed a lot of that. Now, how can they get tickets? That's going to help you.
You could contact me directly from Jacob Lefty Marrero on Facebook or Instagram, or contact my coach Carlos Nieves, Facebook and Instagram. I just want to appreciate everybody in advance for coming out or checking the fight out live, Facebook or wherever y'all see it at. It's gonna be a great card. There's a lot of great prospect, a lot of great pro fighters, a great amateur show. Thank you to CES. Thank you to my team for this opportunity, and I'm looking for a great night, looking to bring that belt back home and making everybody proud.
April 18th at the Connecticut Convention Center in Hartford, Connecticut. Hey man, good luck. And after you win, you come back on and we'll talk about your victory.
Thank you so much, Billy. Thank you for taking time to do this interview with me. I really appreciate it.
No problem. Good luck, man.
All right. You too. Thank you.
Take care. That's my man, Jacob Lefty Marrero. And he is fighting. I love I love this group from Connecticut. We're seeing a lot of good young fighters from CES Boxing. When I think of Connecticut, two fighters pop into my head. Marlon Starling, if you're listening, my man, you're my man. And Iceman John Scully. I think when I think of Connecticut, listen, Connecticut has a whole history of great fighters, and I hope hopefully Lefty's going to be among them pretty soon. So get yourself some tickets. He told you where you could get it from him, or you could always check out cesfights.com. I wish I was going to that one. That one I should have reached out because the card sounds good and it kind of flew under my radar, and I got something else going on. But some updates. Canelo Alvarez. Okay, so we have some people in the chat room that was telling me they disagree about Zuffa with me. Well, Canelo Alvarez has kind of announced. Now, I don't know if you guys realize this, but he has signed a multi-fight deal with Turki Al-Rashid and Riot Season, and that deal is in effect through 2027. And they're already saying that he's fighting September 15th in Saudi Arabia, and they haven't announced an opponent yet. They do have some rumors of who it's going to be. Christian Mobiliai is one of them, who's got a WBC belt. But I'm telling you that this fight, that Canelo is going to come back, and whether he fights Mobiliai or another top fighter, there is rumor. I heard that David Benavidez is going to definitely go back down in weight, regardless if he beats Gilberto Ramirez, which I don't understand why he would do that. I would think that he would move up because there would be some big money fights for him. But I heard through grapevine, you know how grapevines are, that the fight could be against him. It could be against Benavidez in Saudi Arabia for, here's the drum roll, the Zuffa belt. Yes, I'm telling you. And don't be surprised if Ryan Garcia fights for it in the future. And I've also said I still predict that Usyk's last fight will be for a Zuffa belt. Zuffa. But that's what I think. But anyway, speaking of Zuffa Boxing, no, I'm not a paid sponsor of Zuffa Boxing. But Edgar Berlanga, signed, sealed, and delivered. We told you that there was a rumor about that on last week's show. But it was announced today that Berlanga and Richardson Hitchens both signed deals with Zuffa Boxing. So I'm telling you, it's the money. Follow the money, boys and girls. They got the money behind them. They're going to sign some people that are well known, and that's all it's going to take because they have a lot of young fighters that are fighting each other, and they're gaining recognition for fighting tough fights, even if they come out on the losing end. And after all, that's what boxing used to be. And I also think through Paramount, at least with Zuffa, I don't agree with the Sunday, but through Paramount, they may be picking up some casual boxing fan eyes. We'll see. We'll see. Manny Pacquiao, Floyd Mayweather. It's the saga that never friggin' ends. This saga started 15 years ago. All right. Mayweather ducked Pacquiao for years and years. Look, let's talk facts. Mayweather ducked Pacquiao for years and years. Okay. Then they finally had to fight, and it was at least, many people say 8 years too late. I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt. I'm going to say 5 years too late. And Floyd Mayweather won the fight. It was a boring fight, and later comes out that Manny Pacquiao hurt his shoulder. He's got the scars to prove it. He had surgery, blah, blah, blah. But the point is, and then there were some Pacquiao fans that swear Pacquiao won the fight. He did not win the fight. Floyd Mayweather won the fight. It wasn't an exciting fight. It was anticlimactic. The truth of the matter is I don't care that Manny hurt his shoulder, because if Floyd would have hurt his shoulder, the fight would have been called off. They asked Manny why didn't you call off the fight? And he said, I didn't want to disappoint the fans. Well, he did disappoint the fans because he didn't produce. He didn't have the performance that a lot of people wanted. Well, fast forward to now, and they resurrect that fight, pushing 50, both of them. And turns out, we were talking about it last week, that Mayweather is reneging on the contract. He already got a ton of money up front for not only that fight, but it was released today that he got money up front for the Tyson fight and for the fight that he's fighting somewheres with some kickboxer. And all of them are in jeopardy because he has an ironclad contract with the Pacquiao team. And he wasn't supposed to be doing all of those other deals. So he's in breach of contract. And according to Manny Pacquiao and his legal team, this whole thing ends tomorrow, that he's got till tomorrow, Thursday, before they do whatever. I don't know. It sounds like he's going to, you know what it does? It sounds like he's going to send some bombing missions over there. That's what it sounds like. But Frank Warren, so talk about tough guys in the sport of boxing, right? Coach is saying, I keep forgetting we got, A2's saying, that it's not, he's saying riot season isn't Zuffa. Don't be so sure, bro. Don't be so sure. Coach is saying Mayweather got shot hands and Manny's denied shots in his shoulder. Then May breaks all the things. We've heard all of that stuff throughout the league, league for the thing. But we're getting somebody's giving me some advice to interview. I had several interviews with Tyson Fury over the years, not recently, of course, and I never had a interview with AJ. Would love to have it. I appreciate that. If you got his contact, drop it to me and I'll reach out. Anyways, and you guys know I love the Brit. You know that I love the UK boxing scene. There's nothing more than I would rather do than someday be able to do an event over there, or at least be involved with one. And speaking of the UK, Frank Warren, he's not going to pussyfoot around. He's going to sue the WBC if Usyk and KBL don't have the fight. He feels it should be ordered. I feel it should be ordered. I mean, I got to agree with Warren here. I mean, I think it's a travesty that Usyk, especially since people are calling this guy, one of the best ever and everything else, and he chooses, I figured he would fight, 2 more times and call it a career. He doesn't have anything left to prove, but I thought he would fight 2 substantial fights. This whole fight against the MMA or kickboxing guy, champion or whatever, the best ever that was doing that, doesn't matter, and the WBC approved it as a title fight, and they're not going to let their number one guy fight him. I don't get it. But we'll see. And Ato's finally agreeing was, I agree with you. Warren is right. But it's not going to happen because it's just that, you're convincing yourself why I feel Zuffa is going to be good and why I'm rooting for them, bro, because you won't deal with all that kind of shenanigans. It's the guy who beat the guy. End of story. I mean, you're making my case for yourself. I appreciate it. This is a good fight. O'Shaquie Foster against Raymond Ford. It's going to be taking place in the good old state of Texas, May 30th. I love the fight. Love it. But hey, you know what? That's a good one. Hey, we're talking about the fans, right? And one of the main reasons I'm supportive of the events and matches that are competitive and all these things, one of the main things is to have the fans into it. And I'm telling you, this bare knuckle boxing, there's a lot of fans in it, and they just signed Alfredo Angulo. So it's going to be interesting to see. Angulo was quoted as saying, "I fought the best in the world. I'm still hungry. Bare knuckle boxing brings out a different kind of fighter, and that's the kind of fighter I am. I'm ready to give the fans exciting fights and show them that El Perro still has a lot left." El Perro, he was, what? I agree with him. I think that bare knuckle boxing is perfect for him, but anyway, good luck to him. We got a fight. Speaking of Zuffa, I should have said this before. Mosley Jr. is taking on Sergey Boachuk on May 10th. That's a Sunday. I believe that's Mother's Day. I'm Dana. The Sundays, they gotta go. But I like that fight, Mosley Jr. against Boachuk. I think it's a good fight. All right. Speaking of fights, we got several fights this weekend. I'm going to give you my breakdowns and predictions. First and foremost, there's a WBC. See this whole thing I can't stand, and I hope my man Ato in the chat room agrees. I can't stand that every fight is for a title, some kind of title, elimination, right? And I get it. It's good. The sanctioning bodies like it because they charge a sanctioning fee. But Juan Francisco Estrada, former 2 divisional world champion, has got a record of 45 wins, 4 losses, 28 coming by knockout, is fighting that WBC elimination fight in the bantamweight division against Tenshin Nasukawa. And he's 7-1 with 2 knockouts. Okay, so let me break it down. Nasukawa is 7-1. 2 of his wins have come by knockout. His only loss was his last fight, which took place in November of last year, a 12-round decision loss to Takayuma Inoue. He's regarded pretty high. The computer has him at number 17. But the WBC has him at number 2. The WBA has him at number 2. The IBF has him at number 9. The WBO has him at number 11. ESPN has him ranked at number 8, which surprised me. He's not rated on the ring. And the IBO's computer, which you guys know I like the best, they have him ranked at number 14. He's a southpaw, 5'5". He's 27 years old, going to be 8 years younger than the vet. Estrada at 5'5", it's about the same height. He's got a reach advantage of 3.5 inches, though. 41 less fights. He's only has 8 fights and a ton of rounds less. not known for being a power puncher. His 3 best wins out of his 8 pro fights: October 24th, a 10-round decision over Gerwin Asillo, who was 9-0. On February 25th, he won a 10-round decision over a previously ranked fighter, Jason Maloney, who was 27-3 when he fought him. And June 25th, a 10-round decision over Victor Santillan. So those are his best wins out of his 8 fights. Now he steps in the ring with a veteran, not only a veteran, a former 2-time 2-division world champion. He was a former pound-for-pound guy. His record, 45 wins, 4 losses. He was only stopped once, and that was against Jesse Bam Rodriguez. This guy, his last 9 fights, 8 wins and 1 loss. The 1 loss came at the hands of Bam Rodriguez, but 2 of the 8 wins were over Roman Gonzalez, both close decisions in 2021 and 2022. And he also had an 11th round stoppage over Carlos Cudras in 2020. The computer has him at number 11. The WBC has him at number 1. WBO at number 2. The IBF has him at number 10. He's not rated by The Ring, shockingly. ESPN or the WBA Top 100 has him at number 2. I don't understand this, but I even though he's 8 years older, and he's got more mileage, 277 more rounds. I just don't see tension beating Juan Frisco Estrada. I'm picking Estrada in this one. The next fight I'm picking is a fight that can be seen on Triller TV. And by the way, that the Estrada fight, I think that's going to be. I think it's going to be on DAZN. It was being advertised on Top Rank's channel, but now that they've teamed up with DAZN, I believe it's going to be on DAZN. But on Triller TV on Saturday, a pretty decent fight between Brandon Adams and Kaomin Agarco. It is a junior middleweight contest. Agarco is the computer ranks him at number 51. The IBF has him at number 4. The WBA has him at number 3. He's not rated anywhere else. WBC, WBO, Ring, ESPN, and the IBO computer has him at number 47. He's 29 years old, 5'9". They're close to the same height. He's 7 years younger. His 2 best wins was his last fight was a 12-round decision over Ishmael Davis in September of 2025. And he also beat Troy Williamson in a 10-round split decision in December of 2023. He steps in with Brandon Adams. One of the other reasons I picked this fight is because I got to see Brandon Adams live several times. I got to meet him during the Boxino tournament that ESPN had. He's the computer ranks him at number 13. He's ranked by the WBO at number 1, the WBC at number 2, the IBF at number 3, and surprisingly, the WBA doesn't have him ranked at all. The Ring has him at number 8. ESPN has him at number 8. And the IBO computer has him at number 10. He's got 2 wins over Serhii Bohachuk, 8-round stoppage at March 21st. And in his last fight on the 25th, in March of 21. And in his last fight in September of 2025, he beat him. He's 7 years older. The height and reach is about the same. But I'm going for Brandon Adams. This guy has fought bigger fighters. He's a late fight blossomer, and I think the type of opponent he's in, it's gonna work for him. The next fight I'm going to break down is the Conor Benn against Regis Prograis fight. That's Saturday on Netflix, and it's being fought at 150-pound catchweight. Prograis, 30 wins, 3 losses. He's never been stopped. 24 of his wins coming by knockout. He's a former world champion, but much smaller guy. He's got an 80% knockout ratio. The computer ranks him. It's hard to even rank these guys because it's a catch weight at 150, but the computer has him ranked at junior welterweight at number 29, the way it sits right now. Like I said, former world champion. He's got wins over Jose Zapata, 11th round stoppage in November of 2022. And he's also got a 10-round decision over Jojo Diaz in August of last year. He did have back-to-back losses, 12-round decision to Devin Haney in December of 23, and he lost to Jack Catterall in October of 2024. He steps in the ring with Conor Benn. Conor Benn, we all know his last two fights were against Chris Eubank. He lost the first one via 12-round decision. That was in April of 25, and he won big in the rematch in December of in November of 2025. It was a 12-round decision. He's 24-1, 14 of his wins coming by knockout. He's 29 years old. He's going to be 8 years younger than his opponent. The computer ranks him at number 3 at middleweight, but remember, this is a catch weight. He's also got good wins over Chris Van Heerden, Chris Algieri, Adrian Granados, Samuel Vargas. Look, I think Conor Benn's coming out party was his rematch against Chris Eubank Jr. I'm surprised this fight was even made, to be honest with you. And the rumor mill says that Progress is an injured fighter. So even if he wasn't injured, his best days are behind him. He's tough, but he's too small for Conor Benn. I'm picking Conor Benn in this one. And the last two fights I'm picking are heavyweight fights. This is in the heavyweight division, also Saturday on Netflix. On the these three fights are on the Tyson Fury card. Justice Hunai is taking on Frazier Clark. Hunai's got a record of 12 wins and 1 loss, in which he was stopped. 12 of his 12 wins, 7 knockouts. In the heavyweight division, the computer ranks him at number 16. He's not rated by any of the sanctioning bodies or the Ring or the ESPN and the IBO. They also have him at number 16 in the computer rankings. 27 years old. He's 7 years younger than Frazier Clark, and he's also 2 inches shorter at 6'4". He's got his good wins. In October of 2023, he's got a 10-round decision over Andrew Tabiti, and in March 2024, he had a 10-round decision over Kevin Larena, who's making a name for himself in the Bridgerweight division. He was beating current champion Fabio Wari in his last fight in June of 2025 until Wardley came from behind and stopped him at 1 minute and 42 seconds of the 10th round. But he was winning that fight up until that point. He steps in the ring with Frazier Clark, a guy who also fought Fabio Wardley not once but twice. Their first fight ended in a draw, and then the second fight ended in a minute, when Fabio Wardley knocked him out. His record is 9 wins, 7 coming by knockout with 2 losses. His stoppage loss was to Fabio Wardley, like I said, in 2024. And he also got his last fight was a split decision loss to Jimmy Tashika on November 2025. His best wins, a 6th-round stoppage over David Allen in September of 2023, and a first-round stoppage over Ebenezer Teta, and that took place April 20th in 2025. He's 34 years old, 7 years older than his opponent. The computer has him at number 92. He's not rated anywhere else. And ironically enough, the IBO computer has him at number 92 as well. I think it's a pretty evenly matched fight. I think Frazier Clark is going to come out on top in this one. I think Hunai is a good fighter. It's going to be a competitive fight, but I wouldn't be surprised if both of these fighters hit the canvas and Frazier Clark comes out on top. It's a must-win fight for both of them, so I think you're going to see a pretty exciting fight. Now, the whole thing on Tyson Fury, I told you I was going to talk to you about my thoughts on Tyson Fury. And here we go. First, let's talk about the fight. Tyson Fury is making a comeback after over 2 years out of the ring. I didn't realize it was that long, to be honest with you. And he's taking on Arslanbek Makhmudov. And McAdermott is 21 wins, 2 losses, 19 of his wins coming by knockout. Both of his losses, he was knocked out. We were talking about Vianello before. Guido Vianello stopped him in the 8th round in August of 2024. And my man, Agent KBL, stopped him in the 4th round in December of 2023. That was his first loss. And that was when people were thinking this guy was indestructible. And KBL took care of business. He's 36 years old, which is only 1 year younger than Tyson. He's got 69 rounds as a pro, substantially less than Tyson Fury. The computer ranks him at number 20. The WBA has him at number 5. The IBF has him at number 14. He's not rated in the WBC, WBO, The Ring, or ESPN. And the IBO has him at number 23. His best wins of his career, he blew out Junior Wright in 1 round in October 2023. And he also had a 10-round decision over veteran Carlos Takam back in September of 2022. I think those are his best 2 wins. And at 6'5.5", he's going to be over 3 inches shorter. Then he steps in the ring with Tyson Fury. Tyson Fury, former world champion, 34 wins, 2 losses. His only 2 losses against Alexander Usyk. And he also has a draw against Wilder, which I don't believe should have been. He's not rated anywhere because he hasn't fought since December of 2024. Over 2 years, he's been out of the ring. He's got at 254 rounds. He's got 185 more rounds than his opponent. And with 37 total fights, he's got 14 more. He won, in my opinion, all 3 fights against Wilder. He's also got wins over Dillian White, Derek Chisora, Francis Ngannou actually went 10 rounds with him. And the fight that will ever stick in my mind is when Steve USS Cunningham really rocked him with an uppercut. I loved having Tyson. We used to have, so to talk to my man in the chat room here real quick, we used to have a UK correspondent, and he used to hook us up with some of these guys. And I believe he was the one that got me Tyson Fury. So, email me his information, bro. I appreciate it. Thank you. But anyway, Tyson Fury, I think Tyson Fury is going to win the fight. So let's get that out of the way. I think he's going to win the fight because he's going to keep this guy away from him. This guy is a one-dimensional. I want to crush you. I will crush you. I will crush you. That's how he fights. He comes at you, and I think Tyson Fury is going to, be able to keep him at bay. I'm going to crush you. I'm trying to crush you, but Tyson Fury is going to win it. But how's he going to be? All right. Look, man, Tyson Fury, if the rumors are true, he's already doubting himself. There's been an online in public war with his father. His father has said he's finished. He's really got nothing left to prove. This happens to all athletes. I tell people all the time, I read it as a kid, I think in 6th or 7th grade, but read the essay. It's a short story by Jack London, the great writer Jack London. It's called A Piece of Steak. And if you don't know where it is or you don't find it, email me, Billy at Talkin Boxing, TalkinBoxing.com, and I'll send you a copy. I have it. I'll email you a copy. It's the whole sport of boxing in a nutshell. And Tyson Fury is going through that right now. The thing is that when you're an athlete, whether you're a football star, a baseball star, or a boxer, and you become an elite in your field of play, you win a championship, you're the you're the best team, whatever, right? When you're at that upper level, it's almost like 99% of the rest of the population doesn't come close, and it's true, right? Um, but then when you're not at that position anymore, and age starts to set in, and what the mistakes you made when you were younger, and you want to do it just one more time. You want to be on top. I mean, think of the greats that tried it. Michael Jordan was the greatest basketball player ever to lace on a pair of sneakers, in my opinion. And even he came back and showed that he was mortal. And I think the problem is we think mentally what to do. And when you start to age, especially in the sport of boxing, your body doesn't respond as quick. Is I going to crush you? Going to give him much trouble? Probably not. Tyson will probably win a decision. Will it set up a world title shot? Probably. It's sad, and again, this is what I'm praying for. You know, we got my man in here. QWERTY is saying Fury will probably win, but won't look as uh, gold as people think. As you don't think he'll look as old as people think, or good as people think. No, I don't think he's going to look that. I don't think he's going to look good. I think he's going to be rusty. I think he could probably swing. Look, the fight that makes sense. If you're gonna come back and you're older, you're going to come back for the biggest paydays, right? The biggest payday fight that could take place right now for Tyson Fury, should he win on Saturday, I believe, is against AJ. AJ in London, and then the winner of that fight should get a title shot. Deontay Wilder needs to fight somebody else to be in the discussion, in my opinion. But the reason why he's going to get a title shot faster than Tyson Fury and Anthony Joshua is because he's beatable. Deontay Wilder will not beat any top fighter. Will not beat any top fighter right now. Will not beat them. As a follow-up, I got an email from my man Jim from the UK. And he was answering because, if you recall, he had sent an email with his proposed weight classes and how he would want to change it. And I was wondering what the weight classes, because the way it divided up was there was a half a pound. So each weight class was, 0.5. So I asked, and he said the reason why is it was just the math. He had come up with 10 divisions, and between the weight divisions, 110 pounds to 225 pounds, he's saying equals 11 and a half pounds. So anyway, it was just a point to start. He says he revised it a bit. He thinks that it should be a super heavyweight division, 225 pounder plus, a regular heavyweight division, 210 to 225, cruiserweight, 195 to 210, light heavyweight, 185 to 195, super middleweight, 175 to 185, middleweight, 165 to 170. See, I can't get past the middleweight because to me a middleweight is 160. It's a traditional weight class. I wouldn't want to mess with that one personally, but welterweight 155 to 165, junior welterweight 145 to 155, lightweight 135 to 45, featherweight 125 35, and bantamweight 115 125, and the flyweight up to 115. Yeah, I mean, interesting. Hey, whatever works, my man, whatever works with it. And I appreciate the time and the effort. And one last thing I wanted to point out is, I recently saw a post on social media that really irked me. And I want to share. I'm not going to share the post, but I want to share what I saw. And I'm curious to know what you guys think, especially you guys in the chat room. And I'll put your comments up. So listen to this. Are you ready for this? Even the ones that aren't agreeing with me, everybody in the chat room right now, listen to this. I recently saw a social media post that said, here are the top 10 all-time great heavyweights. Now, obviously, this was somebody's opinion, right? Here's the list, all right? Top 10, top 10, okay? All-time greats. Remember, top 10 all-time greats. Number 1, Muhammad Ali. Okay. Number 2, Alexander Usyk. Number 3, George Foreman. Number 4, Lennox Lewis. Number 5, Larry Holmes. Number 6, Joe Frazier. Number 7, Tyson Fury. Number 8, Deontay Wilder. Number 9, Mike Tyson. Number 10, Moses Aituma. I mean, okay, all right. Look, Alexander Usyk, Tyson Fury, Deontay Wilder, and Moses Aituma can't be in the conversation yet. Okay, they can't. And the reason they can't is because they're still active. You have to, at least my opinion, you have to wait 5 years until after a fighter has retired, and you get to really dissect and appreciate their career, and they'll end up somewhere else. I'm not going to argue with the all-time greats that are on this list, but Usyk is not an all-time great yet. Okay, he very well may be, but I don't think for a million years he'll be that high. Tyson Fury, all-time great. He's not going to be number 7. Deontay Wilder, not an all-time great. Moses Aituma, we don't know. He's fought one guy that was named one. And that was Dillian White. That many the fight smelled fishy. Jermaine Franklin. His only other 2 decent fighters he fought, he lost to. So I think that was a good progressional fight. But number 10 on the all-time great list. Hey, for shits and giggles, I just came up with my top. I had to say my top 12 because this to me is more indicative of all-time great heavyweights. And these are mine that when I saw this, I scribbled them down. So if I probably gave it more thought, I would juggle them a little bit. But number 1, Jack Johnson's, in my opinion, the best heavyweight of all time. Rocky Marciano is number 2. Muhammad Ali is number 3. Joe Louis, how come he wasn't on the other list? He's number 4. Jack Dempsey's number 5. Lennox Lewis, believe it or not, Lennox Lewis is climbed to number 6 on my all-time great list. And if I made an all-time great list, 7 years ago, he wouldn't have been on my list. Just ask Dax Khan. Larry Holmes is number 7. He wouldn't have been on there. I've learned to appreciate Larry more of late. Mike Tyson, I do believe he's an all-time great. He did what he had to do in his era. George Foreman, number 9. Sonny Liston is number 10 for me. Number 11 is Frazier. And what about Evander Holyfield? You got to put him in. You got to put him in at number 12. So that's my opinion. He's asking me how's Ali number 3. Well, I think Ali, first of all, Jack Johnson is in a league by himself. Okay. And I believe if Marciano and Ali fought both in their prime, I think Rocky would have won. I mean, he just was that kind of a fighter. That's why I have him at number 3. Listen, Sam Langford should be on this list. Just off the top of my head, Sam Langford should be on here. I'm sure if I start thinking more and more, listen, Coach disagrees. He's not 10. He's saying Tyson's not top 10. That's an argument. I think you look at fighters, and part of their all-time greatness, at least in my opinion, has to include what they brought to the sport. What they brought. What did they do, or did they do something in their career that altered the sport of boxing forever? And every one of them on my list have. And Muhammad Ali, everybody's so quick to say he's the best. And he certainly was in his era. He came and cleaned up an extremely deep powerful heavyweight division. Many believe that the only division that was as stacked during that era was Jack Johnson's division, during his era. You could make the argument that Rocky Marciano had some tough guys, and Joe Louis had them, but they called them the bum of the month club. But if you looked at some of those opponents, they would have been champions today, so it's really hard. But my list, that's what I have. And I do believe Mike Tyson belongs on there. Maybe he's number top 12 or something, but he made a big I thought he made a big impact on the sport. Jack Johnson, of course, did. Marciano did. Ali was worldwide. Joe Louis did. Dempsey did. Lennox Lewis changed the complexion of the heavyweight division. Larry Holmes was, he was a guy that was, it was hard to like him when he was a champ, to be honest with you, because all he kept doing was cutting up the previous champs. Mike Tyson changed it, man. People would rush home to watch a Mike Tyson fight. People would pay for a ticket to go to an arena and not feel ripped off if they only got 30 seconds of a fight. Sonny Liston was just a mean guy. George Foreman, George Foreman was we saw two versions of George Foreman. The one that was scary, the one that was a destroyer, and then the cheeseburger eating grill guy that smiled and was happy, and he also beat up on people. Anyway, that's that. But we got Tyson Fury is not a great in his own time. God help us. Yeah, well, we don't know. We don't know if he is or not. Coach is saying they're rushing home now to see Jake Paul. yeah, I know. It's like WWE. But anyway, hey, listen, thanks for stopping by. Make sure you tune in next week. We got a great show. Boxing Bob is going to be back on. Boxing Bob Newman of the Fight News editor. And guess what's coming back? The return of the Blast from the Past. I told you we were going to be doing that. So nothing is more fitting than the return of Alex Papali, because he's going to join me, and we are going to do a Blast from the Past. And we got a doozy for you because it's going to be the anniversary. So you got to tune in next week. Don't forget to tune in this weekend to all the networks to watch the fights I broke down. Triller TV, you got Netflix, and of course the Zone. So, hey, make sure you tune in next week, same bat time, same bat channel. Until then, I'll leave you